Hey y'all, it's Ron. I come down here to do something really special for y'all tonight. I'm doing a little photo walk in downtown Crossville, but this evening the equipment that I'm using is unique, okay? I'm using my Nikon D500 and I'm using a borrowed 20mm AFD lens f2.8 on the D500. And being that the D500 has the screwdriver motor built into it, it will autofocus this lens, unlike putting it on a mirrorless camera where you have to manually focus it. So I'm going to take some photographs with it tonight, and I'm going to show you those in the video. Now this 20mm lens on a crop sensor body comes in at 30mm, okay? Which is this crop body here at 1.5. One of the things that I have noticed about this is the exposure is really overexposed using this lens. So I have had to dial in minus 1.7 to minus 2 on the EV value for this lens. This is the same whether I was shooting on the D500 or the Z6 II. The Z6 II did the same thing. I thought it may have been the camera, but obviously it's not, because the D500 is overexposing too with this lens. So there's something about this lens, I'm not too sure what it is, okay? I thought it was just pertaining to the mirrorless system, but apparently it's to a DSLR too. In addition to that, these AFD lenses, okay, there's a switch on here. It's got a little red thing on it. You got to put it at its maximum aperture, which is f22 on this lens, and flip that little switch, okay? This was the first photograph that I took, and this is where everything actually started, that I knew there was something not going right. The photograph was 1/800th of a second at ISO 100 with a minus 1.67 EV to get me a proper exposure. The camera thought it was on f8, but being that the aperture blades were not changing in the lens was wide open at 2.8. So that's why I had to dial in a minus 1.67 on the EV value to get almost a proper exposure. At least the histogram shows that. This photograph, which was just right around the corner, the sun was shining really brightly on the building. And again, I was on aperture priority, so I had it set for f8. And 1/1000th of a second at minus 1.67 EV. And as you can see, this is still pretty bright. It's almost to the point of being blowed out. So I probably could have dialed in a little bit more minus EV or dropped the shutter speed on it. But really, I expected the camera to handle the exposure on its own, being an aperture priority. Now, if you happen to know why I have to dial in so much exposure compensation to keep it from overexposing, leave me a comment in the comments here and tell me what it is I'm doing wrong, or is it just the way this lens acts. I want to say David mentioned it to me. This is his lens I borrowed, David Sailors. He lent me this lens, so I'm still testing it out to see if I like it or not, and if I do, I may purchase one on my own. Come down here to the fire department, and they've got this memorial here, and I've been down here before and done some test shots with it. So I'm going to, I'm shooting at 1/500th of a second. Actually, I'm on aperture priority, so I'm on f8, and it's coming out at 1/500th at ISO 200. And I think I want to try to turn it down to 2.8 and see what kind of, I'm going to have to get really close to this, see what kind of blur I get. That's really dark there. It's really strange because it doesn't seem to be changing the aperture on it. I don't know. I didn't get much background blur. I may be using this all wrong. I've got this set at 2.8. Okay, I'm gonna try it far away and see what happens. It just acts funny on this camera. Okay, the exposure's kind of off. It's almost like you got to manually set everything. Yeah, at f2.8 I'm not getting much background blur, and I'm not too sure what that is about this, okay, using this lens. This is picture 2332. I'm going to show it to you in the computer now at f2.8. I'm going to switch over to manual mode. Okay. Now we're at 1/800 f2.8 and the ISO is 250. Yeah, I'm just not seeing the blur, the bokeh. Let's call it the bokeh. Okay. Let's do this right here. So all these shots, these last three shots, 23, 32, 33, and 34, were done at f2.8. So as you can see, in the last couple shots, I had to change the EV value to plus. So I'm having to fool with the exposure on this for some reason. I don't know why, okay? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. It is autofocusing though. Let me get up close and see how sharp one of these pictures would be. Okay, I'm gonna switch over to f8. Ooh. I don't know. I don't get it. Let's go shoot some more pictures somewhere else. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Okay, this is really weird. Okay, I'm not used to this. It depends on, I can't put my finger on it. What's different about this, using this AFD lens on these cameras, okay? This 20mm f2.8. I've got the ring, the aperture ring locked in at f22, which you've got to have it there in order to shoot. It won't shoot on these cameras. It'll give you an FEE error. And I would think that you would just turn it on and shoot normal. But I'm having to dial in all kinds of minus exposure and plus exposure on it, and it doesn't seem that the f-stops are exactly right. You know, between f2.8, I just shot a few pictures at f2.8, and the background should have been bokehized, okay, but it wasn't. It was sharp. So I'm not too sure what I'm doing wrong here. I may have to go out on the internet, or maybe one of you guys are watching this video. I'm calling this a fail for me, okay? I had the same problem with the mirrorless camera, the Z6 II, but I thought it was the camera, okay? In this lens, it's not. I'm using the D500 tonight and with this lens, and it seems to be doing the same thing. Let's go find a few other pictures to take. Okay, I'm gonna do some testing here. I'm in manual mode. I'm at 1/1600th of a second at f2.8, and my ISO is going to be 100 on all these photographs. So I'm going to take a photograph here now at f2.8. And we're going to go to 5.6, which is 1/500th of a second. And then we're going to go to f8 at 1/250th of a second. And then we're going to go to f11 at 1/25th of a second. Okay, according to the meter, it was dialed in. These pictures are not dialed in, okay? I'm not too sure what I'm doing wrong here, all right? I may be getting really flustered really quick, okay? According to my meter inside the camera, This is a proper exposure here. I'm going to show you this photograph and talk about it. This is a proper exposure at 1/25 of a second f11 at ISO 100. But when you look at this photograph, it is way blowed out. This is photograph number 2346. Okay, I want to start this test all over again. Now there's definitely something funny going on here. Okay, I'm not too sure what it is, but I stopped here in this parking lot at the post office to do some testing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dial in my camera, and I'm using the meter on the camera, okay, and at 1/1600th of a second, at f2.8 ISO 100. Okay, this is my shot. Now it's photograph 2347. Now we're going to go up to f4 at 1/1000th of a second. And then we're going to go to f5.6. The meter's still showing at 0 when I move everything. 1/400th of a second at f5.6. And f8 is 1/200th. And then f11 at 1/100th. Okay, so 23, 51, 50, 49, 48, 47. Those are the photographs we're going to look at. I don't know what's going on. My EV value is set to 0. Okay, after looking at those photographs, I don't know, man, my mind is blowed by this, okay? The meter in the camera was dead center 0, okay? Wasn't underexposed, wasn't overexposed each time I turned the dial. But, you know, you can see the picture got brighter and brighter and brighter. So I have a feeling, this is what I think, I have a feeling the aperture is not being changed in the camera, okay? The shutter speed is, but the aperture dial is not controlling the aperture in the lens. So I don't know if I've got something set up weird in it or not. I don't know if I'm supposed to set up what do you call it? I don't even know what you call it now. Where you tell it what kind of lens you have or the minimum aperture. Maybe I need to do that. Let me stop and check that real quick. Okay, I told the camera to set up a non-CPU lens, and that didn't change anything. So I'm not too sure why this is doing what it's doing. For some reason, I don't think the aperture on the lens is being manipulated by the camera body. I ran into the same thing with the Nikon Z6 II that I'm running into with this one. If you know what the answer is to this problem, please leave me a comment in here and help me out, because I really want to test this lens out. Okay, I'm gonna go now. I'm not gonna shoot any more photographs with this rig until I figure out what's going on. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye. Okay, I am going to conclude this video with what I have found out. And after talking to David on the phone, we have come to the conclusion that the aperture blades are stuck on the lens, okay? So there's a little tab in here. I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me get it up here. Right there, okay? And when you try to manipulate the apertures manually, they're stuck, okay? It's not working right. So I'm going to send it back down to David. He's going to send it to a friend of his that works on lenses and see if they can get it unstuck, okay? So that's why I was having so much trouble with both the Z6 II and the D500, all right? It was blowing my mind, as you can see in the video. Anyways, that was the answer to the problem, okay? I have noticed that maybe that could be a problem with these lenses, and I'll tell you why. I was looking on Used Photo Pro yesterday evening at these lenses, and they had a couple of these 20mm 2.8 AFD lenses on there for sale, and both of them were in poor condition. Well, one of them I noticed in the notes, it said aperture stuck at 2.8. So it may be a thing with these lenses. I'm not sure, okay? But I was considering buying one of these, but I think I'm going to hold off and kind of do some more investigation on it first. Anyways, that's it. We'll see you later. Bye.